Wait before you scroll, picture this for a second. A pickup that doesn't chase clout, doesn't flex for the camera, and doesn't pretend to be a luxury toy. A truck that's built to work, built to last, and built to keep moving when the road straight up disappears. That's the energy behind the 2026 Toyota Stout price reveal, and here on Drive Zone Meter, we're breaking down why this comeback could be one of Toyota's smartest plays in years. This isn't nostalgia for the sake of vibes. This is Toyota saying, hey, remember when trucks were honest? And yeah, the Stout feels like that kind of honest. Let's start at the back, because the rear of the 2026 Toyota Stout tells you everything about its attitude. The tailgate is wide, flat, and unapologetically functional. No fancy party tricks, no overstyled creases trying to look cool on Instagram. This is the kind of tailgate you lean on, sit on, and probably scratch up without losing sleep. The rear lights are squared off and easy to spot even when the bed is coated in dust or mud. The bumper looks solid enough to double as a step when you're climbing in and out with gear. Tossing in tools, camping equipment, or building materials feels natural here. Be real for a second. Would you rather have a tailgate packed with gimmicks, or one you know won't complain when real work starts? Slide over to the left side, and the Stout's personality comes through even more clearly. The body lines are straight and purposeful, muscular without screaming for attention. The proportions feel just right, compact enough to maneuver in tight spaces, but long enough to actually haul something useful. The squared wheel arches hug chunky all-terrain tires that look ready for gravel roads, snow-covered trails, or muddy construction sites. Compared to something like the Ford Maverick, the Stout feels more traditional and grounded. Compared to a Tacoma, it comes off simpler and more utilitarian, less about lifestyle branding and more about being a tool. This side profile doesn't shout luxury. It quietly promises capability. Which kind of truck design do you vibe with more? The flashy, aggressive look or something that feels calm and confident? Now walk around to the right side, and you start noticing how much thought went into making this truck usable in the real world. There's proper ground clearance here, the kind that makes rough roads less stressful. The approach and departure angles look like they were actually considered by people who have driven off pavement before. The doors feel thick and solid, like they're built to survive years of opening on uneven ground. Side steps feel optional, not mandatory, which says a lot about how naturally accessible this truck is. If you've ever driven on broken rural roads or tight mountain tracks, you know how important that balance is. Let's be honest, how often do modern pickups feel way bigger than they need to be? Step inside, and the interior of the 2026 Toyota Stout keeps that same no-nonsense philosophy alive. This cabin isn't trying to cosplay as a luxury SUV, and honestly, that's refreshing. The dashboard layout is clean and logical. You can glance at it and instantly know where things are. Physical buttons are still here, which means you're not hunting through touch menus when you're wearing gloves or bouncing over rough terrain. The materials feel durable, chosen to handle dust, sweat, and everyday abuse without aging badly. At the same time, Toyota hasn't ignored modern expectations. There's a central touchscreen for navigation and connectivity, digital displays where they actually make sense, and driver assistance features quietly doing their job in the background. Nothing feels distracting. Everything feels like it's there to support the drive, not show off. Would you trade fancy ambient lighting and glossy trim for controls you can trust when conditions get rough? Pop the hood, and this is where the Stout's character really separates itself from the hype machines. The 2026 Toyota Stout isn't here to chase ridiculous horsepower numbers or win drag races at traffic lights. The focus is low-end torque, reliability, and efficiency. This is about engines that pull confidently at low speeds, tow without drama, and don't throw a tantrum when you load up the bed. Whether Toyota goes with a turbocharged four-cylinder or a hybrid-assisted setup, the goal is the same: usable power, long service intervals, and predictable performance. The four-wheel drive system is central to the Stout's identity. This isn't a soft all-wheel drive crossover pretending to be tough. This is proper 4x4 meant for sand, snow, gravel, and uneven trails. Controlled traction matters more than headline numbers here. Compared to lifestyle trucks that prioritize comfort first, the Stout feels more in line with old-school Hilux DNA or base-model Tacomas from back in the day. Would you rather have a truck that looks impressive on a spec sheet, or one that never lets you down when you actually need it? On the road, expect the Stout to feel stable and planted. The suspension is tuned for durability and load carrying, not that floaty, sofa-like softness you get in luxury pickups. You'll probably feel bumps more, but that's part of the trade-off. This truck is built to work every day, not just glide through a commute once a week. Off-road, that setup pays off with predictable handling, controlled articulation, and confidence when the terrain turns ugly. This is where the Stout really earns its name. Think about your own driving. How often do you actually use all that luxury comfort, and how often do you just need something that feels tough and dependable? Now let's get into the big question everyone's asking: the 2026 Toyota Stout price. Early expectations suggest Toyota is aiming to undercut larger midsize trucks while offering more authenticity than most compact lifestyle pickups. Picture pricing that sits somewhere between entry-level Mavericks and base Tacomas. That's a smart place to land. It gives buyers a tougher option than most compact trucks, something simpler than many midsize pickups, and a more affordable alternative to full-size beasts. If Toyota gets this pricing right, it could seriously pressure competitors. Would you choose a simpler, more rugged truck if it saved you a few thousand up front and cost less to own long-term? Here's the thing, though. This truck isn't just about numbers. It's about trust. Toyota has built its reputation on vehicles that survive abuse, neglect, terrible roads, and harsh conditions. The Stout feels like a return to that mindset. No unnecessary complexity, no gimmicks, just a solid tool you can depend on whether you're working, traveling, or exploring somewhere off the map. In a world where a lot of new vehicles feel overcomplicated, there's something appealing about a truck that just wants to do its job. Do you think modern vehicles have gone too far with tech and features, or is this kind of simplicity what people are starting to crave again? So what's the final verdict on the 2026 Toyota Stout price and what this truck represents? This pickup isn't trying to be everything to everyone, and that's exactly why it works. It's for drivers who value durability over drama, function over fashion, and reliability over trends. It's for people who want a truck that feels honest, dependable, and ready for whatever tomorrow throws at it. Now I want to hear from you. Would you pick the Stout over a Maverick, a Tacoma, or even a used full-size truck? Do you think work-focused pickups still have a real place in today's market, or has everything gone too lifestyle? If you enjoyed this deep first look, smash that like button, subscribe to Drive Zone Meter, and follow the channel so you don't miss what's coming next. Drop your thoughts in the comments because your takes actually shape what we cover next here on Drive Zone Meter. More real, no-hype car breakdowns are on the way, and trust me, you're going to want to be here for them.